Hello, this is Kaz and Risk, and welcome back to Koppai Podcast, episode 19. We are recording on Saturday, April 23rd, 2016. You will be listening to this on Monday, April 25th, 2016, alongside a new Star Fox review. We'll talk about that in a second. I am one of your hosts, Kaz and Risk, joined alongside Mr. Koppai himself, Zach Risk.
Affirmative, General. All aircraft...
Oh my gosh. That was the weirdest scream. Oh man. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Are you doing great? You've been playing lots of that Star Fox Zero?
Oh yes.
Oh yes? You've been
So
using
much Star Fox.
all those motion controls and doing barrel rolls in your
Lots
on
of
your
barrel
couch?
rolls.
Yeah, like right over, just like your fiance, just like rolling over on the couch and just flipping out and trying to like really get into the immersive experience.
Yeah. I've actually been really getting used to the motion controls and haven't been too disappointed with it actually so far. I've been really loving the game. So
Yeah, so as I just mentioned, this episode will be going live on Monday alongside a review that we're going to be recording tomorrow on Sunday, the 24th, after we've had some time to play the game, probably beat the game, go through the modes, go through other things, try out different levels from different approaches, try out the amiibo functionality. I've already tried both of my amiibo, but I want to play with them some more and just see how they feel. And they don't change the gameplay, but they look cool. The Falco one looks really nice. And so we're going to be having all those impressions and like an in-depth review discussion on Monday for all of you guys to check out. We've been tweeting out a lot about the game to people that are talking about it, trying to kind of feed the conversation around Nintendo, because that was our initial goal with our Patreon page and with our Twitter, and kind of expanding and doubling down on Koppai with social media, was to really create a community of people that love Nintendo. And so we've been searching those people out that are enjoying the game, and for those that haven't been enjoying the game, we've been trying to offer some tips and advice. And so if you're not enjoying the game, we'll have some more tips over on the actual review of what we found worked for us to make the game more enjoyable. I guess we could say right off the bat, like, make sure you try to focus on one screen. I think that's a big help.
your tip of the Z targeting thing was like such a dramatic help for me for
Just
it, like
clicking it?
especially for clicking it for just a second and then hopping back out of it, because like especially during those chase scenes when like you're just in kind of free range mode and there's these enemies just kind of flying freely around and you're trying to like track these people, and sometimes they might get a little lost if you just track for like one split second and see where they're at and then kind of redirect yourself that way. It just makes it so much better, because for some reason when I was first starting, it was just, I mean, there's a lot of controls to take in right off the bat, and sometimes you're switched to, other control schemes when you're into, your transformations that you go into. And so, I mean, there's just a lot to take in, and figuring out all of the different little tips that help make it work a little bit better. And sometimes I just get locked into that targeting mode and think that like you kind of had to stay in that for some reason, and I would just kind of get stuck in there, like where I'd go in the targeting mode and then maybe think that it switched to a cinematic sort of view where you're supposed to be looking at your gamepad at this time, and so I didn't really realize that I could just cancel out of that and then just use the screen a lot more than I had been.
It seems like they really push the ZL targeting. They're like, do this if you want to follow people, and it's nice, because especially in all range mode where there's, I mean, it's so cool, but also so confusing that you have all this space open to you.
Yeah.
Because like you could be flying upside down, left, right, like it's just everything's everywhere, and so to find an enemy and find out where you're supposed to be going can be really tricky. And ZL is kind of like a nice way to anchor yourself, but not stay in that. Or I had a boss fight that I did last night where I used ZL targeting and then would keep my ZL targeting on, but then press the minus button to switch my cockpit view up to the main screen. And that was really nice to like have to be locked on and have my cockpit on the main screen.
Yeah, definitely.
And I did that actually, like I'd do that and I would shoot them and then they would like move, or like there would be kind of like that whole typical Nintendo thing, like where you destroy the weak point, they freak out, they try to hit you, and then they move on to the next thing or something. And during those moments where we'd kind of go back to a chase or go back to a dodge or whatever, like the back and forth dance that the battles are,
Yeah.
then I would press minus again, go back in a third person, undo ZL targeting, and fly away. And like once I found that rhythm and that cadence, not only was it really fun because it
Yeah.
was like, okay, switch to cockpit view, switch into ZL targeting,
Hmm.
like you're just like kind of feel like Star Fox himself, like flipping all these switches, but then you just
Right.
go back and you do get to see the grand scope of what you're doing. And so that's been the big tips I've been giving online, and people seem to be enjoying those that like have
Yeah.
responded a few hours later. They've been like, "Oh, that's so much better knowing that I can switch my cockpit view up," because they don't really tell you that.
Yeah,
Like,
I had no idea really. You kind of told me about that, and I was like, wow, really? Like, how do you do that? And yeah, you just told me to press minus, and also the pressing the Y to recenter. Um,
the reticle, yeah.
yeah, the reticle is like a really big thing that I think helps a lot when you're kind of like getting in the whole frenzy of
Hmm.
moving around. Just because we're gonna have the whole full review discussion on Monday, I thought there was kind of just it's like a couple little pros and cons. It's really nice that when you get into the game, like every single time you play it again, like when you set it down and get back into it, it's really nice that satisfying feeling of like getting to know it better. Like when you get back in, you
Hmm.
feel more confident and you feel like, okay, I've got this down and now I maybe can master this other little element of the controls. One maybe a little gripe, maybe a little con that maybe we'll get more into in the review is just that maybe the length of the game, which I understand it's Star Fox, it's kind of inherently supposed to be that way, but just one
Hmm.
of the gripes, like for a casual gamer, um, who picks up the game and maybe just beats it all in one playthrough or something like that, you know how gamers kind of
Yeah.
do these days, where they don't really give it the time and maybe they just play through it in one session and don't really feel like why would I go back and replay it when the controls were frustrating. So it really takes, I feel like, getting those couple few playthroughs in, and then especially
Yeah.
maybe I haven't done the training mode yet, but going into that training
I
mode,
hear
and
those are awesome. I've been
yeah,
getting lots of tweets that those are that people like. That's the other big tip that I can't recommend personally because I haven't done it, but people are saying go through the training mode before you even start the game,
right,
like,
yeah,
which is weird because it's not like completely suggested to do that, but apparently that's like a really big help and stuff. And so I would recommend doing that if you're having more difficulty. I think the game does encourage uh, going back through. Like they have lots of different paths and lots of different missions,
hmm.
and so
And what a
uh,
cool co-op like system that they've come up with, I think too. Like they really made it if you have somebody that would be willing to play co-op with you, I think that they've done a really good system of having somebody pilot while the other it's kind of almost a Force Awakens Finn and
yeah, Finn
yeah,
and Poe Dameron.
yeah, when they're kind of he's flying and Finn is the one shooting and stuff. It's kind of that kind of feeling to it, and it's a
Hmm.
really cool co-op mode. So I
Yeah, we'll,
definitely,
we'll probably
well,
try that out.
yeah, for sure.
We have a lot of that's I guess another piece of mandatory housekeeping that we have, um, because yeah, we want to try out the co-op mode. We're gonna have some let's plays of that in May, maybe doing a little bit of live stream where you and I can personally try that out together, and share our impressions on that. I probably won't have a chance for the review discussion to have that, and maybe you and Kayla could try or something.
Yeah, I
Uh,
almost asked her today to try that. We might do that before the
yeah,
review.
I watched the Nintendo Minute on it, and that looked really fun.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah.
But I guess the other piece of mandatory housekeeping is that we do have we have the review discussion going up on Monday, which will be along like when you're listening to this, it'll be up already. So just go ahead and go listen to that. If you're on iTunes, it'll already be there. If you're on SoundCloud, it should be there. And if you're on any of those, it's on YouTube as well, underneath our playlist for reviews, or just on our main page. And so, or it should be on Twitter and all that. So you should be able to find it everywhere. We'll try to push it all at the same time. Um, but starting next week, from when you're listening to this upcoming Saturday, we should be having, and I don't want to confirm their name or what they're a part of and stuff because it's we just are still kind of nervous about like setting up guests because we don't know if they are able to completely commit yet. But we have a guest lined up for this upcoming week. They are a game designer, so that will be a really cool piece of insight if they are able to be on. And alongside their appearance, we're also going to be launching a bunch of other kind of new cool stuff. that you'll find mainly on our social media. We'll have a little bit of mentions of it. We'll probably mention it in podcast episode 20, and we'll have all that up there. But be staying tuned to like just it'll probably kind of unfold throughout Sunday, May 1st, and then Monday, May 2nd is when we're going to be kind of launching all of that, and we're super pumped for it. We've been working a lot on it and kind of planning and talking, going back and forth about some of the new stuff that we want to do, some plans that we have for May, laying out the calendar, and trying to just take Koppai once again to the next step, because March was kind of our initial, all right, we're taking a next step and doubling down on this and really putting ourselves out there, and now we're just going to do it even more so. And so that should be really fun and kind of like a cool new experience for us that we think fans of the podcast will enjoy, and we also think it'll be a chance to bring in a lot of new people to talk about Nintendo, like we've already been doing this weekend with the kind of Twitter initiative of just tweeting out to a bunch of people and trying to get conversation going about Star Fox, which may be why you're listening to this. You may be one of the people that I tweeted to, in which case, thank you, because that was really cool to hear people's thoughts on it. And once the conversation got started, it just kept going. So that was really fun.
Yeah.
But I think that's it.
Yeah.
Other initial impressions of Star Fox, yeah, we're both loving it.
Yeah,
Or
definitely.
I
I'm
don't know.
excited to get back into it. I haven't had a chance yet to play any today, but
Yeah,
after
same
this
here.
podcast, I'm gonna probably play at least one other mission. It's so cool, just the whole like digesting a mission. Yeah,
Hmm.
just everything about it and the nostalgia factor
They're
and
perfect length too.
yeah, yeah, it's great. And then there's just each one has such a replayability, and then the transformations allowing you to go back, because like I went back to Corneria after getting like that transformation. What is it that the the land crawler, or what is it called? I don't know all the names of these different transformations yet, but the one where you're just kind of walking along, kind of like as a little dinosaur bird thing, and you kind of hover, whatever that
Yeah,
is.
like the chicken walker, like the Walker Assault, I think it is.
Yeah. But yeah, just going back to that level and playing that again and being able to do that and go into different nooks and crannies and stuff, and just really really cool, the replayability. And surely I feel like we're gonna be going through and trying to get the high scores and
Yeah,
compete
definitely.
with
That
each
was
other in
the other
that.
crazy thing that like you talked earlier about the casual gamer and how they may be like, oh man, this game is so short and stuff. But
Uh-huh.
I think the game immediately like says like you're gonna want to come back to this level because like you play it and you're like, dang, I just rocked it. I killed everyone. I beat that boss in like 5 seconds, like whatever. And it's like you got 170 hits out of 300. Like
Uh-huh.
that
Yeah.
is the gold standard, and it's just like what? And it's like, and you
Right.
got one medal out of the five that are in this level, and I
Mhm.
mean, it's just like, but I was nailing everything. Like you have to be like on point to get those, and it'll be tricky and hard to get those. But I mean, it'll. There's already been moments where I've like gotten a medal that I know is kind of out of the way, and I'm like, haha, like I discovered this, and I feel cool. It's kind of like once again that whole nostalgia factor, like people have been talking on Twitter, like it has very much so like a that kind of whimsical retro game where it's like you want to talk about it with friends, like how did you get that medal and how did you get to that planet and stuff. And people were concerned that like the kind of um, direct accessibility of all the levels, that you can just immediately go back and replay them right after you beat them, would kind of diminish that. But I think it just makes it so it's super intuitive that if like you immediately like have the hunger and desire to go back and retry that level just again and again until you move on,
Uh-huh.
like yeah, they have that option for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've definitely. I mean, I've been on Twitter all weekend and been talking to people. We've definitely heard the concerns about the motion controls, and we'll talk about those more in the review discussion about what all that means. But speaking of controllers,
Yeah.
we have a little bit of stuff in the Nintendo pipeline that Zach, you can go ahead and unclog for us.
Yeah, it's not too clogged. We could probably just flush it, but uh, there is a few interesting stories actually. This weird controller thing
Yeah,
was Nintendo filed a patent for this exercise controller slash training system, and it looks kind of like one of those big magnets, or like a horseshoe kind of thing.
looks like a Wii U controller is what it should
Yeah,
be.
it looks
So it
like
looks
just
like a
like the
U.
U of the Wii U or something. It's a U shape, and it's very simple. It doesn't have any analog. It's just a D-pad and just the four standard buttons, like we all know from basically every controller. Um,
Yeah,
says the
when's a controller going to add a fifth button in the middle?
Yeah.
Or like even just like make it so it's 8 buttons, where it's just like just flip it and expand it a little. I mean, no, it's always 4 buttons.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's gonna be a conversation for another day, I guess. But yeah, interesting. The load sensor is a load cell. The strain gauge is bonded on the inside of the body, and the portion of the body to which the strain gauge is bonded functions as a strain element. I don't really know what that means, but consequently, when a user applies force so as to bring the two grips towards each other or applies force so as to separate the two grips, the load thereof is detected by the load sensor. Um, so yeah, I
Weird.
don't know. I don't know what it would be used for. Maybe it's just kind of how, um, it was like the last episode or the episode before where we talked about how they were investing money into certain initiatives, their
Quality of life
quality
was
of
one of the things.
life.
Yeah.
So maybe this is just one of their experiments in the whole quality of life initiative. I'm not totally sure. So
Yeah, it seems like, I mean,
it's
it's
cool little imagery. So
yeah, I mean, it looks like it should have been the Wii U controller just because it looks like a Wii U logo.
yeah, that would have been
I
so
can
weird.
imagine it being used for something like Mario Kart, it seems like it looks like a
Yeah.
Mario Kart wheel.
Hmm.
Um, I could also imagine it being used for like something like Star Fox, where you just like, I mean, it looks kind of like a pilot. Like you could just like, I could imagine you like kind of like squeezing it together, like pulling back up, or just kind of flying like that. I don't know. It's really weird. Probably just one of those things where it's like every other patent we've seen by Nintendo in the past few years. It's just ideas popping in their head, and they're patenting them to make sure they have them,
Yeah.
with the interchangeable buttons and stuff. Like, and we'll probably we may see this with the quality of life, or maybe like even as an extra NX controller. They may release it alongside a game that takes advantage of this or something like that. Like they've done that in the past, like with the Mario Kart wheel,
Hmm.
which is kind of something like that, where you can just pop the Wiimotes in there. Maybe something like that. Um,
Yeah.
I don't think it has this late in the development cycle and stuff. Like it doesn't have any bearing to the NX in the development of that.
Well, yeah, it seems totally I mean, it seems so simple, and it seems like, I mean, it's really crazy how much it looks like a magnet or something with the two like caps on the top of it,
Hmm.
and just how, and I kind of wonder just because it's a training exercise thing, like, and the magnetism involved, and just with your hands grasping it, like, would it be able to measure your blood or your heart, monitor these things, your pulse, and all those, um, your I don't know, what all those like the Fitbits and those kinds of watches kind of are able to monitor through LEDs and things like that. It seems something that would be like the controls seem maybe for just navigating a simple menu or something, or maybe doing some simple games but nothing too extreme. It doesn't seem like it would be for anything hardcore. Um, Even like, I guess the Wii wheel, or the wheel for the Mario Kart, has a Wiimote inside, and I guess that doesn't have any analog. It doesn't have too many buttons, so they don't really necessarily. If it was a peripheral for something like that, I guess they wouldn't necessarily need it to be too complex. But also, there's no that we can see any back buttons like with a Mario Kart controller or peripheral. We have like the back Z button, and we have nothing like that. So it seems very simple, and it seems like it must be completely unrelated to any sort of actual, I would think, NX Wii U sort of accessory. I think it would be strictly for whatever sort of quality of life console sort of system that they were making, or even maybe like a Wii Fit sort of
Yeah,
thing, like
we like the
something.
Wii Fit balance board. Like that was
Right.
completely separate from anything that we saw for any other game. Like I don't
Yeah.
think really any other game used that. And quick apologies if you keep hearing these voices or like any other noise. Maybe I don't, have you heard
Yeah, I heard.
anything?
Yeah, I heard like a couple of like slams, like somebody slammed some
Yeah,
stuff.
well, this so this real quick, like a little break in the podcast. We'll keep it in and stuff for people to hear. But I record in one of our just spare media rooms here at my university to do the podcast,
Uh huh.
and no one's ever in here, like on the weekends, because it's a classroom. So I just reserve it out because then it doesn't bother my roommates, and my roommates don't have to listen to me. And I write on the marker board in huge letters, like recording a podcast until about 4 o'clock. Please be quiet. And people walk in sometimes, like, or like they'll poke their heads in because they may be like wanting to come to a place like to study or to quick. Like, I mean, sometimes people come in, like very rarely,
Yeah.
And this weekend, our school newspaper is working on a publication issue, so they're right next door. They're doing stuff, and some people think that they're meeting in this room, so they're poking their heads in. I'm like shaking my head, doing like the sign and pointing to the next room, and they're like, "Oh, okay." And this person just comes in here, and they're like just walking in like very quickly, not looking at me, and I'm like waving at them and pointing at the thing, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm just gonna grab this chair," and I'm like, "Shh," and they're like, "No, just gonna borrow this for a second," and then they grab it and they go behind me and slam the chair against my chair, then go through the door that I have shut because it's like into the other room. They open that and slam the door into that, stare the
Wow.
chair at that door, and then go out, and then they leave the door open. I'm just like, and then someone else walked in, and I looked at them, and they're like, "Oh," like kind of had that face of like, "Oh, you're doing something." I'm like, "Yep, okay, go to the next room." And they're like, "Okay, cool." And they went to the next room like quickly, and I'm like, "What just happened?" Like everything went wrong that could possibly go wrong, and so.
Well, thank God for muted microphones, I guess, because yeah, I didn't hear any of that. I don't know if you were able to like hit mute
Oh
real
no, I didn't.
quick.
I didn't mute the microphone. I was just mouthing all of it, trying
Oh
to
wow,
like
that's
be
crazy.
as like indiscreet as possible. So I'm
I
gonna.
can't believe all that was going on during that, because yeah, I hadn't.
You were you did a great job. You were just ranting about the this weird controller, and so I'm like, all right, Zach's got it, but I'm gonna step away real quick and shut this door so it's not a problem. But
Yeah,
it's weird. Um, I had to check out my earbuds, but no, that's the nature. That's a good time to mention patreon.com/ Koppai Productions, where for just $1 you can support us, enter to win an NX, and maybe one day we can buy a studio so we don't have to do and deal with stuff like that. But no, that was ridiculous. Hopefully, that's kind of the end of it now that they're getting all set up over there. But yeah, no, cool controller. We'll just keep that in the snippet along with the Nintendo pipeline or the Nintendo patent and stuff snippet because that's kind of what's happening during the discussion of that. But no, I mean, this is kind of the reason we're talking so much about this is just because it's kind of like one of the bigger pieces of news and stuff. But I think that's all we really have to say about that. I mean, unless
yeah, it was just kind of it looked interesting. I think was probably one of the more, because I mean, Nintendo files these patents all the time, and sometimes they're quite boring. Um, Not often do they have like a really unique shape and interesting sort of appeal. So I think that was kind of why it was getting a lot of attention from a lot of news sites. And so yeah, thought it was definitely worth
yeah,
commenting on, but will probably not amount to much. So
yeah, probably
not
not.
anything to get your hopes up about.
It's like the PlayStation 4 Boomerang controller that we saw.
Yeah.
Like, or remember that? Like, they had a PlayStation 4 controller that could split in two, and then you could have the Wii or the PlayStation Move like balls on the tip of it. And then that just ended up being the light bar, which even that ended up being nothing. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, this happens, and so I think most people are getting smart enough to realize that. Like with patents, like back in the day when or even like in the recent days, like when patents would go online, people would be like, this is the why else would you make a patent? Like this is it. Like this is
Uh-huh.
something big. And now
Yeah.
it's like, oh, that the internet exposes everything. But
Yeah.
um, but yeah, moving on.
April 21st was Nintendo President Tatsumi Kimishima's 66th birthday.
Oh, happy birthday! Are we gonna sing him happy birthday?
Happy
Happy
birthday to you.
birthday
Happy
to
birthday to you. Happy
you. Birthday
birthday,
dear
Kirishima.
Tatsumi Kimishima. Kimishima. Happy birthday to
You. Yeah.
you.
Oh
No,
man.
in case
Another
you don't
brilliant
recognize that name,
rendition.
he's the Nintendo president, the new one.
The new, brand new one, yes.
Yeah, the one I think it was what October,
He's been
November.
around for a while though in Nintendo's circle, so um yeah, he's been doing a good job so far it seems.
He's
I'm
been doing a
really
great job. I mean, I mean, following in the footsteps of Satoru Iwata. Like, I
yeah,
mean, brilliant, brilliant man,
yeah,
and he's really kind of been. I mean, and not only following in the footsteps of Iwata, but doing it in like a very tough time for Nintendo, doing it in a tough transitional time of Nintendo, doing it with not many games to be pushing out during a
right.
time. I mean, it just he came on in the worst conditions
Yeah,
probably of Nintendo's
in
history.
a really
Like,
low point, yeah.
I mean,
And
and
he seems like he got straight to work too, you know. It seems like he just was very serious and just was like, let's get to work.
yeah.
Let's get down and make sure this keeps going as Iwata had everything going, you know, like
Yeah,
just
it seems like he's doing the perfect discernment of like recognizing what Iwata wanted to do with Nintendo, but also realizing some of the flaws in Iwata's plan
Yeah.
and adjusting them to the current situation of where Nintendo's at and where gaming is at. And it seems like with the way they followed through with the mobile initiative, the way they're handling the NX, as frustrating as it is for us as video game journalists and consumers and fans, we want to know more details. We want to know what's going on. And we kind of feel in the dark, maybe a little bit too much in the dark when you have releases that are a little bit stagnant and you want to just know like what the next big cool thing is coming.
Yeah.
In the midst of all that, he has handled it pretty well. We're going to have to see in the upcoming months how he does that. But it would have made so much sense for him to announce the NX on his birthday.
Yeah.
Been like, for my birthday, I'm giving a gift to all of you.
Yeah, he probably has one though. He probably got one for his birthday and just is playing it at home.
Yeah, probably got Star Fox for his birthday. It was,
Yeah.
I want
The
to.
Star Fox NX port.
Yeah, well, I don't think that's happening.
Yeah.
But we'll have to talk about that in the review discussion if where we think the franchise is going. But yeah, I don't think that's the case. But no, happy birthday. I feel like we say your name different each time, so so we apologize for that. But hopefully we can get him on the show soon, along with Bill Trennan. This is our weekly reminder to Bill Trennan to please come on the show,
Yes.
so we can give him the birthday cake for Reggie, and we can also give him the birthday cake for Tatsumi Kimishima, and he can deliver that to them personally.
Mhm.
We also what did we have? Oh, we're going to talk about it later. Bill had some questionable information about the NX. We're going to have to get to that later. But
Yeah, yeah, that's a story
yeah,
later.
yeah. But happy birthday, Nintendo President. We
Yeah.
salute you and good luck in your future endeavors, in the console wars to come in the
Mhm.
upcoming year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Winter's coming. Well, it seems like we got some Pokemon news that we don't have any like pictures or anything. It's nothing super tangible, I guess, but we got some names of some legendary Pokemon for Sun and Moon. The
Hmm.
two names are Soul Galio and Lunala, which
They sound like Pokemon names.
yeah, and they sound very like Sol is sun and Luna is the moon. So, they're like
Oh.
these. It's gonna be some sort of sun and moon Pokemon.
Yeah, and they're
Legendary.
not like previously known Pokemon or something like that. I think there is like rumors that like it may have been like what is it Solstice or something like that rock Pokemon like
Hmm.
those may have been like I don't know legendary forms of those or something. But no, we're getting
Yeah.
completely new ones and
Yeah, don't we? We might have like a couple Pokemon, at least like one of each of with a Luna and a Soul sort of like title in their name. I'm not sure. At least like even in the Japanese like
Mhm.
versions, because these are the Japanese names. I'm pretty sure just direct English translations of them, and often in the localization they will be completely changed. They're probably not going to be called Lunala and
Well, they may
Solgaleo.
be.
Well,
I mean,
Lunala might be. Maybe they will keep Solgaleo too.
because I was gonna
It's
say they went with
possible.
like Evoltol and
Yeah, I'm
Xerneas
not
and
saying.
stuff.
Yeah,
Like
sometimes they
the
do.
legendaries have some tricky names. Like
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes they just stick with the direct translations, but not always. And some of them seem a little more likely to be localized, I would say, than the other ones.
yeah.
But with the soul, like they would probably have to do something like sun something if they were gonna do any sort of like localization and change the soul out, because it has to keep that sort of sun connotation to it, I would think.
I don't know. I would think, yeah. I mean, I would think they'd keep Soul. Like Soul. I
Yeah,
mean, we
yeah,
have
yeah. We
they can.
definitely. It's not. Well, I mean, just I'm thinking because sometimes they don't give us enough credit for what we understand and maybe
Yeah,
what
that's
we're too
true.
familiar with. Like they think that we have to be spoon fed some, and especially
Meowth.
a
Yeah,
younger.
this is a cat Pokemon.
Yeah,
Meow. They
yeah.
make the meow noise. Here you
But then
go.
they also did like I guess Pikachu was I think kept though as like is a
Yeah.
universal one, and that's like a Pika is a weird like sort of kind of mouse that's not super well known. It's not like super
Mm.
common mouse or anything. So yeah, sometimes it's tricky that whole thing. So we'll have to
Interesting that it's
see.
this late in the cycle. Like with Pokemon Sun and Moon being announced, assuming that, and it's coming out this year.
Hmm.
It's assuming that it's been in development since um,
X and
Omega
Y.
Ruby, Alpha Sapphire. But yeah, definitely. I mean, if not by then, or if not before, and when like right after the end of X and Y.
Yeah.
And so you would assume that like the legendaries, especially with the whole concept being decided that it's going to be Sun and Moon. I mean, we don't know how they develop these, if they pick out a theme first and then the legendaries, or if they have an idea for legendary and how they kind of fit in. Because it seems like the legendary Pokemon do kind of have like all sort of like relations to each other in some sort of grand scheme. Like they're kind of just flying by the seat of their pants, but they're kind of trying to come up with like a Pokemon universe, kind of like a hierarchy and stuff of Pokemon.
Yeah.
And so you don't know maybe if they decide that first or what, but it seems regardless to be really late in the cycle to be like, all right, probably should get around to trademarking those names before someone else takes those. But
Mhm.
hopefully it leads more credence to the fact that we'll be getting more news in May. We were promised news in April, and that turned out to be a whole debacle. Like that was
Well,
so sad for that one streamer that had that stream about the new Pokemon gameplay being shown.
I
And
know, yeah. That
he,
was
he I mean, he
ridiculous.
had he had been told that, and there was announcements that it was going to be new gameplay footage,
Mhm.
but it was like a miscommunication and loss in translation between Japan and America of like it was new gameplay footage for the first time
That show was
on
so
TV.
bizarre.
Yeah,
I think
that's what
it,
it
it
was.
did you see that? I don't think we maybe mentioned this, but interestingly, the trademarks weren't registered by Nintendo Game Freak or Creatures Inc. That they were registered by under the name Yasuki Inui, who appears to be an IP lawyer in Japan. So
Yeah.
it's interesting that.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, like when I was looking into like doing, like when I was just like looking into copyright stuff and like just kind of what the process is for getting trademarks and all of that, I was doing research and stuff on like different brands that had that, and a lot of times they weren't like. I mean, like kind of funny was an example, like as someone I was looking to, like how did they go about starting their business? Because we're very much so in the same mindset of like just kind of two guys talking to a microphone. Like we don't have the studio and the system set up similar to how kind of funny started and so I looked into how they did that, and like their copyright is by some IP lawyer, like,
Uh-huh. Yeah,
and
it just seems like sometimes they often just, since they've done it so many times, these trademarks like Game Freak and Creatures and Nintendo, that why I don't know if it seems out of the ordinary at all or just something a little different for how they register their Pokemon names, you
maybe
know?
trying to be more secretive, so it's not like
Yeah,
Game
and
Freak.
then
Just like maybe they're mad about the last leaks,
yeah,
like
and
they,
then people just are just hunting, digging for whatever
yeah,
little
that's
bit they
the
can,
internet.
and somehow they found this IP lawyer registering for some Pokemon. You know,
Yeah. How do
it's
they know
yeah,
it's Pokemon? I mean, is it just was that like in the context of the post, like that it was like
yeah. I
Pokemon
don't.
trademark names or something?
I'd
Maybe
have to
that was
look.
more
I'd
implied.
have to do some more research into that whole thing, but it was Sarah B who found out. Like you'd probably have to search for more information about this, but for some reason, like I don't know, maybe if they just put together that the whole Sol Galeo and Lunala just is like the sun and moon. Maybe it's speculation. I'm not totally sure,
Yeah.
but yeah, we'll find out more
We'll
about
find out
that
soon. I
very
mean, I
soon.
think
Yeah,
I think they said the May Koro magazine.
yeah,
So we'll probably be finding out mid-May. And then, I mean, if we're finding out mid-May, they're probably, weirdly enough, saving stuff for E3, which normally Pokemon doesn't do. Normally they kind of do whenever, but it seems like if they have a Koro magazine that reveals some details, and then they have like a trailer at like the end of May, like 2 weeks before E3, that just seems like a like kind of like a slap in the face not to go ahead and give Nintendo that to show off at their conference. But yeah, and hopefully we're getting that NX announcement this week because I've been pretty adamant about those predictions. So,
yeah.
but yeah, that's an interesting piece of news, and leave your thoughts down below of if you think. I mean, I guess there is maybe a question about if they're like credible or something. I think they're. Do you like those names? I guess you could ask about in the comment section or answer in the comment section, or do you think they should be more heavily localized, maybe adjust more to, I guess, our language and stuff, like is Soul and Luna to, I don't know. I think those are very
Lunala. I
clear.
think Lunala is probably the better one to stay. I think Solgaleo maybe.
Soul Galio is an epic name though.
Yeah, I agree that it's it's kind of exotic sounding and stuff. I think they both sound kind of. I like the whole. They have a bit of the Hawaiian connotation to them, you know.
Yeah, Nala reminds
Um,
me of like it's gonna be some sort of lion,
yeah.
like Nala
Uh,
from The Lion King.
yeah.
Or
Possibly.
Galio also sounds like a lion name. Maybe they're
Hmm.
two, like maybe one's like a lion and maybe one's a lioness.
Yeah. Leo the
Ooh.
lion.
Oh, we just confirmed here on Koppai, lions. It's gonna be the
Lions.
Lion
There's
King.
no lions in Hawaii, but I guess okay.
um, yeah, I don't
Who
know.
knows? But is there any like lions in their lore or anything like the hidden mysteries of
I guess
Hawaii?
though
I
you
don't
have
know.
like the lays around your neck. Those would kind of look like lion manes.
Yeah, that's true.
That is true. Maybe we're on to something here.
Koppai breaks.
Koppai Conspiracy
Yeah,
episode 2.
yeah.
We'll have to dig into that. But
That
yeah,
is a
moving
really
forward.
interesting thing, yeah, the Leo
Oh,
and Nala connection. But yeah, moving forward, we gotta trudge along a little bit. U.S. Metroid Prime is coming out to the United States. Federation Force, August 19th. Moving on. Uh,
I was writing down in my notes to make sure I had that edited out as a snippet. And then it's like by the time I finished in writing in 36-minute mark, you're like, okay, moving on. Like we're not going to talk about Metroid Prime. I guess we've talked
yeah,
about it quite a bit, like in our
yeah, we've
impressions of
kind
it.
of beat it to death. I think I was just kind of moving. It was more of a joke that I was just moving right along
Yeah.
because we really don't. I can't say I'm looking forward. I really don't care. When I heard that bit of news, I really had almost zero like zero change or feeling in
I'm
my body.
surprised. I mean, to touch on it briefly, I'm surprised that it's not already coming out. That it's not like release it in late May, have it on the
Yeah.
show floor at E3,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
have people play it, try it out, push it out. I mean, August 19th. What
Yeah,
is?
they
I mean, the
must
NX will be coming out like 2 months later.
yeah, they must I wouldn't be surprised if that'd be so crazy if at E3 we have a whole other like just like the treehouse like day 3 dedicating hours to Metroid Prime Federation Force so we can
They may be
understand.
trying. They may
Yeah,
be.
and they're gonna bring out the developer guy again to explain why why we need to play this
Yeah,
game.
it's gonna be weird having a Nintendo Treehouse this year at E3 without Eric.
Yeah,
It's
and
gonna be.
Allison, because sometimes
Yeah.
she's there too.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, she was hosting several times, and like she
Yeah,
was usually like out on the show floor, like talking to people and
yeah.
stuff.
Hmm.
And I think was there any? I thought there was maybe someone else that left. I know it was
Um,
Allison and Eric, but I mean, yeah, just when you have a treehouse like that, that's just filled with like recognizable faces and stuff.
yeah,
Like, it's just gonna be weird to have anyone missing. But
yeah,
no, those are a good group of people. Like, I love those people so much. Like, they're such good hosts, and like, you just want to hang out with them.
yeah, yeah. It seems like a fun little
So
team.
I would watch them play Federation Force and try to just. Cause that's always the fun thing is they're trying.
Yeah,
Like, and I think like with Super Mario Maker, they loved that game. Like, and you could tell they're like, "Give me the
yeah.
controller back." Like, I want to show you the level I made.
Hmm.
And then you can tell there's other times where they're like, "And this game is cool because like
I
look at
was rewatching the Star Fox because that just came out of the last year's E3 when they did some of the Star Fox coverage and the earlier version and stuff because it's kind of quite a bit of change going on in like the final release, but how they brought in the guy who had like really mastered the controls well, and they
Mhm.
were kind of sitting back. They like we brought in this guy who's like he's our master pilot in the treehouse, and like he's really good and has it down the whole like doing everything and it seemed like they kind of just let him take over and show off how it works because they probably could have bombed really badly attempting it,
Yeah,
but it was cool to see somebody who had that they actually had somebody who just kind of clicked for them, kind of like it did for us, I think, and for many other people who really didn't have as much trouble with the motion controls or was a little more able to put it together. And I think it has a lot to do, I think, with people who maybe are a little more casual at gaming and a little more hardcore who have put time into like you and I have got really deep into Smash Brothers and learning all the intricate things about that.
yeah,
And so yeah, it's just you know,
yeah.
it's cool that yeah they did that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, yeah, like we just mentioned, that kind of like what started this whole conversation of Federation Force. It will be interesting to see, I guess, more coverage of that. Like they're gonna probably have to shift kind of a focus and do their whole marketing for that. If they, I mean, because it seems like they like it. It seems like Nintendo has some sort of fancy with that game, probably because of the Metroid Prime name. But it seems like they're kind of putting a lot of effort and resources into making that like a nice, careful
Yeah,
package. And so it'll be
honest.
interesting to see if at E3 they do have something like that. And also it'll be weird to see if they are going to be announcing the NX soon or at E3, and if they have a Metroid game launching with that or
That'd
any
be really
sort of
cool.
announcement to share. If Federation Force will kind of be a tease for that,
Yeah, they
like
could do that's a really good point because if they do announce a Metroid game at E3, then suddenly I think that it will alleviate a lot of that pain for Federation Force and it'll actually bring a lot of hype for it because that's what a lot of people said they should have done originally is that the like the butthurt over Metroid Prime Federation Force wouldn't have been nearly as bad if it wasn't like the Metroid game that had been announced within like how many years since we last had one, and last had a really good one, and everybody's been waiting for the Wii U one or the next really big Metroid Prime game, and then we get Federation Force. So if they would have done announcing a Wii U one, or even just announcing a generic just Metroid's coming and not say which console or something like that, and then announced Federation Force as your supplement of just of some missions and some little fun things to do while you wait for it. I think it would have been like so like a dramatically different reaction.
Yeah.
And if they even, and I think they still have chance, if they did announce the Metroid game, then people would be like, okay, like we don't feel quite as bad. Like maybe we'll check out
Yeah.
this game because now we're feeling like like it's coming. We're kind of getting back in the Metroid mindset, and we're like overflowing with hype for Metroid. And I don't know. Honestly, I was kind of thinking like, what happened to that? Is that Blast Ball Metroid Prime Federation Blast Ball thing coming still? Because it was kind of
That
like Rocket
that's a
League,
that's a that's a part of Federation Force.
and yeah, that seemed almost a little more fun than Federation Force.
Well,
Because
it's in Federation Force is like a combination of kind of like things like that, where there's going to be Blast Ball, which is a part of Federation Force. There's missions. I mean, it's just like a culmination of kind of
yeah,
that style, where it's just like
yeah,
four-player multiplayer Metroid games, which
and that seemed pretty fun. I thought the
like
Blast
yeah,
Ball.
it could be a cool like it could if their whole strategy is announce the NX and announce a Metroid coming to that, and then hey, while you wait for that, pick up Federation Force. I think Federation Force will be the Triforce Heroes of Zelda, or like of Metroid, where we're waiting for Zelda NX or Zelda U, but Triforce Heroes was a mobile multiplayer Zelda game to play while we wait, which had quirky, different style of Zelda, but it was something to kind of give you something to play for the holiday season of Zelda.
Hmm.
And Federation Force is kind of shaping up to be that same thing, where it's a different style, different gameplay, not like the typical Metroid Prime that we know, but it may be more fun to play. And like someone like me who picked up Triforce Heroes is kind of enjoying it, knowing that there's something else coming along the way, and this is just kind of a taste of Zelda while I wait. And so that may work in its favor, and that would maybe explain the August 19th release date. But yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully to do something to win us over in the upcoming months, because what they've shown so far is just not not. I mean, I don't want to.
Yeah,
I
it's
want to be a positive force for Nintendo on the internet, but it's just like you got it. I mean, it's not bad, but it's definitely not good.
It's
It's
something that definitely took way too long to come out. You can tell that it's a really old game
yeah,
that's
that
just
that
now
sunk cost
finally,
fallacy we talked about, like with the
yeah.
whole. It's just someone did not want to give up on it since 2009, and
Hmm.
it shows. But that doesn't mean necessarily that it's going to be get bad gameplay wise. But they're going to have to sell us on the gameplay to make up for the graphics, because we're not graphic nuts, but like we will accept the fact that like even with Star Fox, for example, we'll talk about that more in the review. But Star Fox in a lot of areas can be a very like unappealing visually game.
Well, and it's
Uh,
not, I don't think it's just about like, personally, I think it's a lot about, like what I was saying, I think Blast Ball almost seems like a little more fun. It's like, really, I don't feel like going with three people into these little kind of mini Metroid levels and beating
yeah,
some little mini boss thing and shooting at him like and I don't know, maybe like you do upgrade and get transformations. Like when I watched like IGN did a little bit of trying to do the whole convincing thing, and Jose did with a few people play through a level, and it made me, kind of when we talked about it before, and I was like, still it doesn't seem that great, but it did do a little
yeah,
bit of convincing. Like, there's some ways that it could, but I don't. Overall, it's not the kind of Metroid experience that is like what you want. You don't want to go with. It's almost like Triforce Heroes in a way where you're getting a it's not designed for that kind of experience necessarily. And who was asking for the Metroid game where you're with your little chibi Metroid people with three other friends or whatever it is, and you're going through these like really, and then it looks bad, and then it's just on a small screen, and I don't know, it just seems like who wanted it? It seems like nobody was asking for it, and that's kind of one of the main gripes, like besides the fact that it doesn't look that great. It's just who wanted, like, nobody really likes that much. I don't think. Maybe they were thinking like the Monster Hunter is doing so great
Yeah, I
and
don't.
stuff like that, but it's just a different kind of thing, I think. But
Yeah, I don't get the whole Nintendo mentality right now of let's make every 3DS
right.
game multiplayer and
Yeah.
let's make every Wii U game single player because I would much
hmm
rather have
Or,
Star
well,
Fox
and make it all
have
all single player with an element of co-op. There's got to be some, like, you got to be able to play it through in co-op and it.
yeah, couch co-op is a really big thing for them.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't get that like with Star Fox I can't hop with you online and have you flying as Slippy around, you know?
Yeah.
But I just when I'm playing my 3DS, I'm often not connected to Wi-Fi. I'm often like on commute or at a coffee shop or away, like maybe playing outside, or maybe I am on my couch. But when I'm playing my 3DS at home, it's because I want to sit down and play like a little 3DS game. Like I want to be just like kind of just focusing on this one solo adventure. Um, but a lot of times I use my console games to connect with people online, and it's weird that like Nintendo has like the exact reverse mentality because I mean I just don't have access to Wi-Fi on the commute, and I don't have access to Wi-Fi when I'm on a long car ride home, and I don't have access to Wi. I mean, and these games are begging for that, and I mean maybe they're like focusing like on a car full of people or people gathering around on a trip, and they're all pull out their 3DS and they do local or something. I don't know. It seems I really wish they would stop with let's do Triforce Heroes, let's do Metroid Prime Federation Force, let's do Mario Party Island Tour on the 3DS,
hmm
and it's just like why? And then you have Star Fox Zero with no online multiplayer, and you have Pikmin with like no online multiplayer, and you have I mean, what was the other game? I thought there was another one that's like a prime example of like I wish this had multiplayer, like online multiplayer, and it's just like, but those are all the console games, and I don't get that. So hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully, it has a lot of single player too, or is able to be played in single player like Triforce Heroes is, and I haven't tried that out by
I
myself
think it
yet.
is. I
But
think it has like little just AI bots that help go along with you.
yeah, that and which hopefully they're not. Oh my gosh. Something just went in my throat and it hurt so bad.
Oh my god.
Oh no.
Good night,
Hopefully it's
everybody.
okay. Bill Trinan just like heard somewhere in the ethos, Kaz is trash talking Nintendo. I better kill him.
And that was
Um,
Koppai. The end of Koppai forever.
just
It happened
some
live on air.
somewhere like Bill Trinan like has a little drop of my blood and he's just dropping it in the fire. Kazdan Risk, Joffrey Baratheon. Just going through.
I will not be on that podcast.
Oh man, yeah.
I
Bill,
don't go on
please.
podcasts.
I think that's our cue from Trinan himself to move on to the next subject.
Yeah, yeah, and it actually, um, oh, sorry, never mind. I was skipping over a story because I was gonna say it actually involves. We can actually go to this story, I guess, and just get it out of the way. That last week we broke the story that I went to Bill's house, um, but I think we actually were able to confirm completely that it didn't actually happen. It was just some delusional dream concocted to make the story more interesting for the podcast or something like that.
Yeah, we report on rumors so often with Koppai, with the
Yeah,
Nintendo NX that we wanted to spice it up a little bit with the Bill Trinan thing, but
yeah,
we made it very clear, I think, even in the title of the video, our imaginary NX talk with Bill Trinan,
yeah.
that it wasn't real, and not only was the Bill Trinan talk not real, it seems to be
The rumors themselves
the
were just
rumors.
the whole thing was just completely a waste of time. Uh,
Yeah.
it was
Um,
fun, but
and we can tie
it
this
was a
in with
waste of time.
the current rumor, which, well, it's kind of ironic that we're deconfirming another rumor, but hey, we have another new rumor in the pipeline this week. We can maybe talk about that too, with like within this one snippet.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is deconfirmed. And what exactly is deconfirmed? Because there's still some stuff that stands, right?
Yeah, I think that that stating that the NX will be noticeably more powerful than the PlayStation 4, and that he's also heard Luigi's Mansion 3 is coming to the platform. I think those are the ones that are mainly like, there's nothing really to confirm that. Uh, He used a tiered system for his sources, but investigative sleuth Z Huge X caught him out when he realized that he had just rephrased something that he had previously posted on Twitter and claimed Z Huge X as the source, despite Z Huge X saying that it's just a rumor and couldn't be verified at all. Um, so yeah, it seems like some of the like just everything that he said basically, if you heard it from the 10K rumor, I would take it as not like if you heard it in the room in his list, but it wasn't said by Emily Rogers or it wasn't said by somebody else who has also put this out. It was most likely just completely made up. Like I guess Emily Rogers came out and before this whole thing, before the Z Huge X calling him out on it, and she said that the whole gimmick of the screen controller was just completely made up by him. That there was nothing, no sources whatsoever, which is interesting because I thought we'd
This
have
is coming from
heard.
Emily Rogers.
Yeah, she said,
Because so far she seems to be the only one that hasn't been debunked.
right. And
So
so that's interesting because it seems like we have heard a lot about it being a screen controller, which seemed like not revolutionary news when we said, like Reggie says, the gimmick is it's gonna have a screen controller. It's like, well, we kind of already knew that. So that's interesting that we're kind of hearing that possibly like that was just made up, and that could just be that the specifications about the screen weren't correct, or what they just said about it, or that they might have a screen controller, but how would this person know? They just kind of made it up by guessing. I don't know. We won't really know. It's kind of pointless in a way to discuss all of these NX rumors, but it's fun kind of to
yeah, it's
speculate.
on
But
slower news weeks. It's nice to talk about it because
yeah,
it just gives us a chance to speculate and get excited and talk about something related to Nintendo.
right.
We that's one of the reasons that we made it like the Bill story was just kind of to entertain because at the end of the like we want this podcast to have some sort of relevance beyond um beyond like when the NX is announced. And like that Bill Trinen episode will always be kind of funny just because there was just elements to it of prediction, but also just humor that really just will stick with us forever. But like moving forward, especially with May, there's gonna be more rumors coming in May, and there's gonna be like less and less of a gap until we just know the truth for sure.
Yeah.
And as a focus for the podcast, we may, I mean, let us know in the comments if you like the rumor discussion. We'll always bring up the latest rumors because that's just reporting on what the news is of the week.
Yeah.
As for our in-depth discussions, like last, I had like a weird hiccup there.
All
Like,
these weird things happening. Somebody's like out trying to get you this
yeah.
episode.
That's why all the people came in here, like Militron standing across the street with like a little headset, like send them in now. Bump the chair against the microphone. Um, but uh, what was I going? Oh yeah, last year we had like a whole episode I think dedicated to the NX. Like we just stopped what we were doing and just talked about the NX for like a whole solid episode.
Yeah, I think we
Um,
got a huge information dump and stuff.
Yeah. And then this year we've had an episode that was half dedicated and like themed off of basically rumors and the speculation around it. And then
There's been
this time it's just a main
a
point.
lot of rumor discussion, and some people I know for sure are getting tired about it. I mean, it's getting to the point now where it's definitely even us in our discussions now we're getting less in depth on it, and we're getting more to the point where it's like, yeah, it's just we don't really know, and we're just gonna have to wait because it's coming really soon. So we can talk a little, we kind of briefly comment on the newest rumors, and then basically you just have to leave it at that because what can you do? I think back when we got our first information dumps of it, like when we dedicated a full episode and everything, it's like the excitement of actually somewhat sound like credible sounding and people saying, this is not a source that's just this is a source that's actually had some things confirmed in the past. So while it's not 100% true, likely that at least there's some credibility perhaps to it. And it was just that first, like, after the Wii U and hearing that the NX is coming and just that whole, like, our first, bit of information. Of course, we're going to be super excited. Everybody, I think, was in more of a frenzy over that. And
Yeah.
now it's getting to the point where it's to where we're just come on, Nintendo, release the NX already or just not release it, but announce what it is. Tell us,
Yeah.
explain it,
Well,
because
my prediction's going to be this week. And it may have been leaked. I think we'll just go ahead and jump to this final story or this final would you rather.
yeah,
It may have already been leaked. We saw in the animated Star Fox short, Star Fox Zero, The Battle Begins,
right,
that Falco is sitting there. They're all in the Great Fox, and Falco is playing this controller. And I saw this on the internet actually before I noticed it myself. Someone had talked about it. I wish I had a source of who initially mentioned it.
huh?
Um, but he's playing with the controller and he like throws it against the TV and it bounces off. So you get several good shots at it.
Yeah,
And it looks like a PS4 controller meets an SNES controller meets the a mobile phone attached to a 3DS thing. Like it's a flip screen, but it's all like it looks like a just amalgamation of everything put into one controller. But it's a flip screen and it has the flip top has the screen, the bottom part is just the controller, and he's playing it on a big screen, which, according to every rumor we've heard about the NX so far, pretty much confirms that it is going to be a controller that has its own screen and can connect to a big screen. And maybe that was the NX. And
maybe.
we've seen Nintendo consoles in Animal Crossing. We've seen Nintendo consoles show up in Pokemon. We've seen in WarioWare,
Right.
they play the Game Boy Color or Game Boy Advance and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
whenever they're playing the next
yeah,
thing and
yeah.
stuff. Like they integrate it into their art all the time,
Yeah.
and maybe the animator was told to do that. Maybe they just saw the NX and they thought about doing that. And so that was kind of an interesting piece of speculation that if you want to go check it out, it's on Nintendo's channel. It's just Star Fox: The Battle Begins, and I think it's like in the 5 minute mark, somewhere around there, like very early on, when he's introducing everyone. And
Yeah, yeah.
Falco's the one playing it. He's the one that looks like a falcon,
Yeah.
if you don't know. And it looks like I think it has some credence to it. I
Yeah.
think
And I'm on the opposite side. I think that it most likely is not anything, anything like a real leak or anything to get excited about. So,
yeah.
but because I mean, first of all, if it is, it's got to be at least like a based off of prototype or something. Because I mean,
Well, yeah, I
seriously,
mean
those
it's fitting into the whole Star Fox theme,
yeah,
but
the
I mean,
spacey kind
yeah, but I mean, a controller that has the handles coming down and then the buttons and like the
of.
kind of like circle kind of like thumb areas
Yeah.
with a screen that flips up. I mean, we've seen that even with the DualShock 4, and if you get like a Sony mobile phone, you can do remote play by kind of like clicking it
Yeah.
on like that middle part.
Yeah.
And that makes a ton of sense, and I would love that. Like, I think that's like the perfect design. Like, I remember when I
Well,
saw the first time they did the DualShock with the phone thing attached to it. I'm like, that's a brilliant concept right there.
what's cool is that it was making me think about like button layout potentials,
Hmm.
and like it was making me think about how like versus if it was more of a Game Boy Advance or Vita sort of layout, or if it was more of the 3DS sort of thing. But even when we see this in the picture, it seems like the screen is slightly smaller, like it could flip and still allow for like a good analog stick to stick out the side or something like that, you know?
Hmm.
But then that would also beg the question of like portability, like sticking it in your pocket and things like
Well,
that.
I wonder
Um,
if it could come. I wonder if the screen could come off. Like, I could imagine a commercial for the NX where someone's playing and they're playing on the screen, and then they take off the screen and it's a phone. And it's just like announcing Nintendo, and it's just like they walk away and then they play Miitomo on it, and it's just like separate from the controller. And then they go back and they're on their phone, and then they go and they sit down on the couch, they pull their phone out their pocket, they click it onto their controller, and they're playing the NX again. And it's just like, whoa! And it's just Nintendo, like you can play wherever you are. Like
or
it's
what if it is um, remote play on your phone? Like what if it is just a controller that your phone is somehow becomes the just the screen for
yeah,
remote
exactly.
playing?
Like that would be so like, and I know like it's not like completely innovation because, but if they can like master
That'd be interesting.
the hardware behind that, like what PlayStation is already trying to do with remote play, like
Yeah.
man, like that would be what we wanted out of the Vita again. That would be like what we wanted the 3DS. Like it'd be so good,
Hmm.
and I would be so fine with that, and it would be the normal controller we want, but it would also bring back like the flip screen and stuff of what we wanted out of the 3DS, and mobile gaming that actually has like tactile buttons and stuff and analog sticks. Like it would be Nintendo committing to like what we already want and stuff. And like then you could have like Miitomo still. I mean, it would just make so much sense for that to be where they're going. Um,
The only problem I see with that is just the portability of, if they want to make the NX and have it be portable where you can take your games like and possibly play, let's say, Mario 3D World on the go, or like when you're at a hotel and you have an internet connection and you can remote play connecting to your Wii or NX by on standby, and then you're playing. I mean, the portability factor of, like, let's say the controller is like a PS4 controller or is like a Wii U Pro controller. It comes like the fitting into your pocket. Um, They'd either have to have like an on-screen controller like we see all the time with emulators
mhm.
on the phones and stuff, where it's this overlay of a touchscreen which nobody really likes, and
Well,
or you would have to take a little case with you with a
yeah,
controller,
I think it would be just as portable as like the 3DS is, where I mean, you can't
because
just
that
like
you can
shove
stick in your pocket.
some pockets. I mean, like the 3DS XL, for example, like I can't stick in my
I
pocket.
can.
Well, you got big pockets, man. Like you see those like girls walking out with their short shorts, like they got little tiny pockets. They can barely fit a quarter in there.
Yeah,
Like,
but they probably have 2DSs though, and what are they fitting in
that's
there?
well, I mean, I don't know if you can fit a 2DS in your pocket. Those things are
Yeah,
like
you
little potato
cannot.
wedges. Like, and so I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, it is. It's much more, I guess, case based these days.
I think it would be more. I think I said like three. I think three times there in a row. Like that was so weird. I had a little mental breakdown. I pulled
It's
up. What
Bill.
is it?
It's coming after you.
Yeah,
Like,
my inner Rubio coming out. Like this isn't an accident. This is a carefully executed plan by Nintendo.
yeah,
Um,
let's get rid of this notion that Bill Trinan doesn't know what he's
oh my
doing.
god.
He knows exactly what he's doing.
Oh man, this is one of my favorite episodes of ours. But no, I think that it would be, yeah, you bring the controller on a car ride if you want to have those buttons, or like you put it in your backpack, you have a carrying case for your controller, like I think that would be the initiative and stuff of them going with it. Or if you want to play more simple games that are just touchscreen based, you can just take the screen part off. Um, but we'll see. All that leads to the would you rather of the week, because we could go back and forth on this all day,
Hmm.
and we're gonna open it up to the Koppai fans out there.
Yeah.
Would you rather have the NX controller stick, like assuming that the NX is half portable, half home console? The portable part of it, would you rather that be the flip up screen like we've seen with the Game Boy Advance SP, Game Boy DS, the 3DS, um, and what we used to have with like flip phones, or would you
Game and
rather it
Watch.
be Game and Watch, yeah, or would you rather it be a flat, simple screen controller like the Game Boy Advance or PlayStation Vita, or what modern day phones are?
Slicker
Um,
gamepad sort of thing.
yeah, slicker gamepad and stuff. Because personally, my answer is I like the. I mean, I like the idea of a hybrid where it can flip open and you can detach.
Yeah.
Uh, but if I could just pick one, like if that's not an option, I like the flip line for a controller and for a mobile gaming thing. Like with my Vita, I hate that my Vita can't close shut. Um, I mean, I still put my 3DS in a case, but it still gives me an added sense of security, and I like just opening it up. I mean, I don't know. I do like my Vita. I love my Vita. Like that's just an amazing game or game console platform.
Yeah.
But it just, I do wish sometimes that it had some sort of like just built-in screen protector, that wasn't added.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
I mean, what's your thought?
Well, it's just interesting because I mean, when you look at the 3DS, because it has the flip screen, the analog sticks have to be those more flat, circle pad kind of things, you know. With the Vita, since it's a purely flat screen and it has the analog, it has much better analog sticks, the Vita, because it has the flat screen and doesn't have to be covered and, stay flat and stuff like that. So, and in the little NX cartoon sort of maybe potential leak of the system. It seems like that screen is smaller, so it would allow the buttons to stick up possibly or be detached. So there's always like, if it was like, because you're kind of thinking if it was like the 3DS, then we'd have the smaller analog nub, and if it's the PS4, we have the better, or if it's the Vita one, we have the better ones. And so I kind of wonder about that, about how that would
Well,
all work.
I'm wondering because
Um,
like with the Falco example, it seemed like the screen wouldn't cover up the buttons. Like it
Yeah,
seemed
that's what I
almost
was.
like this.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying is that we have a couple different possibilities here of how they could go about it and which one would I prefer. I think that I'm with you that I would like the detachable
Mm,
one that's more of a controller in itself that could probably just be without the screen while you're playing the NX at home on your console, and then you could add the screen to it. I think that sounds like a pretty good idea. I guess I wouldn't mind that because it would allow for a more actual like real controller that's not part of a half screen, half controller, sort of like almost when you get your all-in-one computer, sort of thing that like doesn't have, I don't know, something like that where it's not the full, it's compromising a bit because it's trying to make it all in one and
hmm
it's not trying to be like, here's your controller, here's the system itself. I kind of like that separation where you can have a standalone controller that's maybe you could use your Wiimote if you wanted to and get an add-on for that, or maybe you could use your classic controller or your, something like that where you can plug in different controllers or they could develop a sleeker, slimmer controller that, you could upgrade to in the future. That'd be really cool if it was a separate thing where they could kind of go with like they released that patent last year or the year before where they had the interchangeable buttons where you could slip out a button and replace it with this.
Yeah,
I don't know if you remember that
that
patent
may
for
have
sure.
that may actually come back up, with
Yeah.
the 3D or
So
the
so
NX
yeah,
controller.
I'm kind of torn between what I want the most, I guess, is like a really good controller feeling if it's going to be taking it on the go with you. I really like the Vita controls. I would actually like something even a little bit better.
Yeah,
Because if this is going to be the controller that we're using on a day-to-day basis and also has to be used for the console and is like one that you can take away with you, like I want something that's more along the lines of uh, a, a Wii U Pro controller kind of quality,
yeah. Yeah,
versus something that is a
The
little
Vita
more
for like
frail.
remote play and stuff, like when you're playing a console game on the Vita, can sometimes be really not fun.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's nice for
definitely.
like
Yeah,
little kind of like games designed around like the
I especially
portable gameplay, but
the back touch things on the Vita. I hate those things. I don't know
yeah, it does.
what is that's just so weird and not intuitive at all. And yeah, I
Yeah.
don't like
And they used
those.
to be even worse. Like they added like we have the models with like the little pads on the back, but
Yeah,
I mean, kind of cool
and the
idea on
holding the
paper.
pads when you're trying to hold the system and to
You have
hold
like a
the
little kung
pads.
fu grip.
Yeah.
Oh
Uh,
man.
yeah. But
Uh,
yeah, it's an interesting discussion. I think that there's like, several ways they could go about it, and so I have faith that I don't think that our predictions are really going to be maybe necessarily accurate. I feel like it's going to come out and we're going to be like, oh, like that's what that's right. That makes sense, I guess, kind of thing where it's not exactly what I don't think you can really know what to entirely expect. It might be something kind of like, oh yeah, it's got elements of what we kind of were expecting, but also it's maybe more refined and
yeah.
just makes more sense once we actually see it.
Yeah, we'll
So,
see so soon. Like it's just gonna be,
yeah,
probably
really
this month,
insane.
I think. But maybe, if not, if I could at the latest E3, like within like the next, 6 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
So, really crazy. But yeah, to close us out, be sure to follow us on Twitter at Koppai Media. Be sure to check us out on Instagram, Koppai Media. We're gonna be trying to feed that more. That one's a little bit trickier to do because you can't schedule posts on there. So we have to be live and present to update our Instagram, which with the busyness of work and school and just other stuff we're doing for Koppai, that can be kind of tricky. Be sure to follow us on YouTube if you're listening on SoundCloud or iTunes. Just search for Koppai Productions on YouTube. And also be sure to check us out on SoundCloud and iTunes. Koppai Podcast is where we're going to be found there. I've been tweeting out a bunch this week and going to try to be better about that moving forward, to kind of focus on our mentality of building up a community. Understand that if we do tweet at you, we're just trying to talk about Nintendo. We very much so care about Nintendo and love Nintendo and want to build up the brand, because it's just something like a company that's been so good to us, and we want to like just help them. We want them to be successful. We we may sound like the way I'm phrasing all this is I want to sound very professional online, and I want to sound like very encouraging to people because I want us to be a source of positive discussion. Raylyn Serrano on Twitter, putting you on blast, tweeted 24 minutes ago when we're recording this. Okay, so at Koppai Media is in Nintendo America's pocket so deep they're subsisting on pocket lint. Basically saying, dang, these guys are in Nintendo's money pouch so deep they're just sucking on lint now. And I responded, honestly, we're just a Nintendo podcast trying to stir up positive discussion and gain some followers while we're at it. Although, have you tasted Bill Trennan's pocket lint? Super tasty. So hopefully Bill Trennan
Well,
sees that.
no, you are they're onto something because you are part of something like I'm not. I'm free.
No, I when
They can tweet at
I
me and I'm free of any guilt, but you are deep in Nintendo's pockets and there's something
that is
going
not
on.
true at all. No, what are you doing? Putting me on blast.
You're
No,
on blast. You're part of the conspiracy keeping the NX hidden.
no. Oh my
It's not gonna
gosh,
come out till
no. We are
2017 because it
not in
has.
any way being endorsed or paid by Nintendo. We wish we were.
Yeah,
Like
definitely. I
we
would
would
love
take
it.
any sort of sponsorship or
You need to
program
give
with
me some of
Nintendo.
that Nintendo money.
Yeah, no. If we had any Nintendo money, we would. I wouldn't be in this spare room right now, and we would. I
You're
no, I
keeping
wouldn't
it
be working
hidden.
at Starbucks. No
You're
offense
putting
against
it in a
Starbucks.
you're
That's all
putting
I've
it in
had.
one of those little mail mailboxes that like Kaylee Mike break you're putting it in for your marriage in the future. It's all being stored.
No, Mike Ermintrout, my little Kaylee fund.
Yeah,
Um,
from your Nintendo money,
no,
your
I
conspiracy and the
wish. No,
Illuminati.
no, because I'm tweeting out to people and I am being very encouraging of Star Fox, but I
Yeah.
am calling out the crap that it has. If
Mm,
people are saying that the controls are bad, I'm not saying, no, you're wrong. I'm saying, you're right. They're tricky. Here's a piece of advice to make it more enjoyable because I want Star Fox to stick around and I want this game to do well, not because we're sponsored by Nintendo, but
right.
because Star Fox is legit and
Yeah,
the
it's a
game is a
great
lot of
game.
fun. And for some reason, and for I guess for rightful reason, people are hating on the controls because they are a little bit wonky for a lot of people at first. But if you stick with them, the game actually becomes really fun. And because the media out there is already being so loud against the game, I'm trying to be a force to kind of balance that out and be like, no, like if someone's tweeting out, "Hey, Star Fox is kind of fun," it seems like that's kind of from a timid voice of people being like, um, I know I'm in the minority here, and I'm trying to build those people up, especially to kind of bring them into our community. I mean, one, like in all transparency, to be like, "Yo, follow us" because we want more followers. But two, because the people that are part of Koppai should be people that love Nintendo. The same way, like when you look at the comments on PS, I love you XOXO and Podcasts Unlocked, like those people, sometimes to a fault, will defend Uncharted and defend Halo. And they recognize the flaws in the series. Like Colin will call out that he doesn't like the Uncharted multiple choice questions and stuff. Like there's parts of the series he doesn't like, but he'll also usually give it the benefit of a doubt if it's delayed. Like he'll be like, all right, I don't care because I love the game no matter what. Like they admittedly are fanboys, and we are too with Nintendo. And we'll avoid bias and we'll call out the fact that Metroid Federation Force has the worst art style we've seen in years. But we'll also
Yeah.
be like, you know what? At the end of the day,
Triforce
though,
Heroes.
yeah, we've called out Triforce Heroes, and it wasn't until like a few recent weeks ago that we actually got it, or I actually
Well,
got
and
it.
it's not like we were like Mario Tennis. Oh yeah, or
Yeah, like I
Amiibo
mean, we're not.
Festival, and
So when we do promote these games, we're doing much so out of like we like this game, we want to see it succeed, and we want to make sure that we build up a community of people that are like-minded in that way that want to build up the series. And so to say that we're in Nintendo's pocket, one, no, we'll if ever
one
in the
day
future somehow, yeah, if ever in the future one day we're somehow included in a Nintendo program or like if we're brought on like as a sponsor, we're like, hey, we're
everybody
gonna
will know.
yeah, we're gonna send you a copy of Zelda NX, and we want you to play it and do a 15-minute Let's Play before it comes out. But like, make sure you focus on this. Like, we'll say this is sponsored by Nintendo. Like, we will tell you. Like, we'll
Yeah,
probably
for
even
sure.
call out this previous joke of being. But until then, if we're even if it sounds super cheesy, and even if we're like tweeting hundreds of tweets a day about Star Fox, it's because we're just working our butts off trying to get people to talk about it for honestly more so for our game than for Nintendo's game, simply out of this thing that we want to build up our community.
We're just two
Uh,
guys with a dream.
Mm, what more can you say? And so sorry if it seems like we're anything other than that. Like if it comes across as ingenuine. Honestly, we're going about it this way instead of there's programs out there where you can buy followers. You can tell a program to like every tweet with hashtag StarFox, and people gain a lot of followers that way. We've had experiences with that. With a previous encounter of someone liking every single tweet with hashtag Amiibo, and it's how someone won our previous amiibo giveaway. And a lot of times that can seem robotic because and that seems ingenuine because then we're just favoring tweets for the sake of getting followers. But we're doing this we're making sure that every tweet that we respond to, we also bring about a unique discussion point. And so that can maybe seem like we're going like hardcore PR, but it's almost the exact opposite. We're trying to be less fake with people and be more real by making each tweet a custom tweet about the game. And so hopefully people are enjoying that discussion. I mean, just in the midst of talking about this, we got another follower and someone saying that they're going to try to go out and buy Star Fox because of our recommendation of the game, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's a really cool, like just the same way that the PlayStation Vita sold much so because of Podcast Beyond and then now PS I Love You XOXO. It'll be cool to have these moments, hopefully moving forward, where our community can help be like, yo, I bought Star Fox Zero because of Koppai. Like that would be so legit. And it seems like it's already happening a couple times this weekend. And hopefully it can happen on a larger scale. And once again, we're not saying, yeah, that's so legit because now we'll get another paycheck from Nintendo. We're saying that's so legit because this game deserves to be played because it's a fun game. And this series needs to continue on the NX. Like we can't lose Star Fox and you have to vote with your wallet. Like Nintendo will do what they want at the end of the day, but sales help. They're a business. And um, so I felt like I should address that in the podcast before we have another week for it to get maybe out of hand if people are thinking that way. I don't want those negative vibes to be driving online, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, definitely. Probably just trolling, but
Yeah, probably troll. I mean, I looked at a few of his previous tweets. I mean, even his Twitter. I mean, what is he? Raylano Serrano or Raylan Serrano? Everyone go tweet at him and be like, "Yo, buy Star Fox," because he tweeted out was gonna buy the new Star Fox Zero, but thanks to he like tagged his two friends for saving me money, and then I tweeted at him, "Oh no, the game is real fun and worth checking out. Maybe give
Aziz
it a second."
Ansari. Oh
Oh
no!
no, no! Oh man, Master of None was such a good show. I said the game is real fun and worth checking out. Maybe give it a second thought. Hashtag Star Fox Zero. Once again, I used the hashtag to get more views on us. And then he said, I watched them play it, and it wasn't fun. It reused assets from Star Fox 64, but not as good as Star Fox 64. Granted, that is a pretty valid criticism of the game, that it's honestly a shot-for-shot remake, and even the dialogue options and stuff. Um, and then it was 20 minutes later, he must have done some digging on us and been like, oh, okay, so Koppai Media is in Nintendo's pocket. Um, and so yeah, he had some valid concerns, and I was just like, because I'm just looking through people that are tweeting about the game, and he was one of the few that was against it. A lot of people are like, dang, I'm loving this game,
Yeah.
and so that's why I saw his tweet of him being against it, and it seemed like he was getting his impression from someone else of not getting it, and I was like, oh no, what did they say? Because maybe they just heard it from hearsay too. Like we've actually been hearing a lot of good things. Maybe we can nudge you in the right direction. It may be something you like if you did like the other Star Fox games. And so once again, all out of noble like integrity decisions,
Yeah.
but yeah. So sorry for going long and adding that extra rant, but feel like it was something that needed to be said, and it's gonna be just it's gonna be cool because I'm gonna keep trying that this whole week of just whenever there's a new Nintendo announcement, I'm just gonna see if people are talking about it and see if I can join in the conversation because um, that's what we want to do with Koppai is have a place where people can talk positively about Nintendo because it's the reason we started Koppai was that we felt like we couldn't like that there wasn't really a place like that out there. It seemed like most places online about Nintendo were either super just like kind of indifferent, where like Nintendo voice chat, as awesome as they are, like the conversations sometimes aren't like completely like going beyond the podcast. Like the Jose and Pear and Brian themselves have really awesome sort of discussion, but because they're kind of caught up in that IGN ecosystem, you have a lot of people coming over from Xbox and PlayStation, and like it's just kind of the bummer nature of just the way that is. Although they are starting a new YouTube channel, which I'm excited to check out to see maybe how things adjust to that. Um, but it seems like a lot of places have like kind of toxic discussion on Nintendo because you have people from the other kind of fanboy wars oozing in, and so we want to build Koppai on a foundation of people that love Nintendo, and so
Well,
that's why we're doing all
yeah,
this.
and well, I think that there's just some of our perspectives I think that we've had because we've always talked Nintendo and reflected on other discussions. Like we've always listened to Nintendo Voice Chat and Game Explain and all the other channels. We've always followed Nintendo news from wherever it is, from My Nintendo News, from Nintendo Life, from Nintendo World, wherever we get it, from IGN,
Mm-hmm.
from Kotaku, wherever we get our news. We've always,
Kotaku. I
but
read it on a video game website called Kotaku.
yeah, they were camping. But but yeah, I just think that we've always discussed the news and then found kind of that we have perspectives and thoughts on Nintendo and that maybe other people don't think about or doesn't come to them or they don't get a chance to really get into.
Hmm.
And I think that sometimes we offer some just other sides or just our thoughts which sometimes differ a bit from the
Hmm.
other discussions, and so it's adding another. I think there's always room for more perspective and more, conversation about these things. So I think that we just are trying to offer what we see as some valid input into the Nintendo community and world. So yeah,
Yeah,
I,
definitely. So we're not sponsored by Nintendo.
no,
We're hoping to grow and we're hoping to expand and hoping to be a part of Nintendo's culture in the future, and appear at E3 and appear at PAX and appear maybe even like in these Nintendo minutes and stuff. Like, that'd be such a surreal moment to have happen. But until then, and even then, we're always going to be offering genuine discussion, and we're not going to have any sort of contract or agreement that prevents us from being completely honest. The fact that we're supporting Star Fox means we actually do like Star Fox, which you can head over to youtube.com or Patreon or SoundCloud or iTunes and find a link to our review discussion on Star Fox, brought to you by Koppai Productions.
yes,
And so thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week with a special guest, a lot of announcements on what we're going to be doing moving forward with Koppai, including lots of cool stuff that maybe we'll tease later on in the week as we get closer to announcing it. But until then, just please be excited. Like, subscribe, enter to win the Amiibo. The Amiibo giveaway will end this week. You can win 2 Amiibo if you share this video with hashtag Koppai. And every time you like us or follow us on any one of our social media outlets, you are entered to win an Amiibo. So if you like us on Facebook, if you subscribe to us on SoundCloud and YouTube, and if you follow us on Twitter, that's 4 entries right there. If you support us on Patreon, that's a 5th entry and an NX entry. So you could have a lot of chances to win an Amiibo, and we're giving away 2 this month because last month didn't work out. And that'll end this week. We'll announce that on May 1st, the winner, or May 2nd, one of those days and stuff, when we get the final confirmation from whoever wins. And so until then, continue to support us, and we'll continue to support you. We love you. We thank you so much. And as always,
go.
bye! Right on.
Awesome. Wow. That was a long episode. I thought it was gonna be shorter, and then we went along again.
Well, cool. I'm going to take this headset off, tear everything
Me too.
down. If you want to send that to me right away, because I'm going to edit that tonight, so I can just edit the review tomorrow.
All right, sounds good.
Yep.
All right, talk to you later.
Yep. Bye.